to be some of the major stories that are in the news and a lot of issues that have come up today regarding the fear of the federal government and what is coming from the military in respect of the kind of violent activities that we're seeing in states where protesters have taken to the street. Of course, we'll be bringing you perspective into what the state governments need to do. Mr. Falano had come out to say disbursement, as mentioned by President Bola Tinubu, in billions that have gone to the state government in the last 6 months. What has come of it? And there are questions that should be asked of the governors and the state government and the local government about these poverty alleviation funds to help the average citizen. How have those funds been utilized? We'll be giving you perspectives and the implication of what has happened today. Stay with me, everyone. First, let's serve you with some of your political roundup stories.
Governor Abba Kefas of Taraba State says 80% of his administration's policies are geared towards the betterment of youths in the state. The governor stated this at an interactive session with youth from the 16 local government areas of Taraba State to chart a way forward after the #EndBadGovernors protests in the state. While appealing for patience, the governor is promising to address the demands of residents of the state.
80% of whatever plan we have in this state, it will be for your benefit and your growth, so that you can protect the things by yourself. Instead of destroying, you should be able to protect them.
In Benue State, some youths are opting out of the nationwide protest, citing the danger it poses to the state. With the leader of the group, Mr. Tahide Adams, stated this when the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utsev, distributed truckloads of rice, fertilizers, insecticides, irrigation, pumping machine, and other farm inputs to support the agriculture in the state. The minister appealed to Nigerian youths to give the president time and see the results of his reform agenda. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, is planning to scrutinize the activities of local government administrators. This move, according to the anti-graft agency, follows the decision of the Supreme Court last month to grant financial autonomy to local government. A director at the Executive Chairman's office, Mr. Friday Ebello, who was speaking at a meeting in Abuja, explains that the move will enhance better service delivery and accountability at the grassroots level. Meanwhile, the new Nigerian People's Party, NNPP, in Rivers State has declared its readiness to compete with other political parties in the state's upcoming local government elections. The party says it has established strong structures across the 319 wards of the state, positioning it well to win councillorship and chairmanship elections. One of the state officials of the party stated these when a group of supporters of Governor Siminalayi Fubara and other stakeholders in the Boni local government area met with the governor.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's bring you up to speed with our monitoring of the protests in some parts of the country. We'll begin in Kaduna State, where things seem to have gotten to a head today, perhaps unexpectedly, and some hoodlums had vandalized banks and burnt security vehicles at some agencies of the government offices today. Some of these hoodlums masqueraded as protesters, vandalized a branch of one of the new generation banks in the Tundun-Wada area in Kaduna South local government area of Kaduna State. The spokesperson of the State Police Command told China Television that the hoodlums broke into the bank, during which they carted away some valuable items and also destroyed some vehicles parked within the bank. And of course, from Kaduna to Lagos State, where some of the EndBadGovernors protesters converge at the Gani Fahimi Freedom Park to continue their demonstration despite a nationwide broadcast by President Bola Tinubu. The determination to continue the protest follows a Sunday statement by the organizer, stand by Hassan Taiwo, and some of his other colleagues on behalf of the EndBadGovernors Nigeria Organizing Committee, who said that they will continue with the protests. And from Lagos, of course, in Abuja, some of the protesters also took to the street, albeit not as much of the kind of patronage that they are seeing in the past days. We saw today in Abuja.
Okay. Hello? They shoot Tiaga inside the bus. Hello, sir. Tell them I'm ready.
And that, again, some of the site in Katsina State. And there, obviously, one of the states where apparently some of the protesters are flying a flag, Russian flags. And in Bauchi State, in response to the escalating violence in the Azari town and its surroundings, the Bauchi State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew in Katagum local government area. The decision follows significant damage to government buildings and residential properties during recent protests. Similar sights that you saw in Katsina State, it's also evident here on the streets of Kano, where some of the protesters, you can see they're flying the Russian flag. All right, some of the sites there in several parts of the country, and the military seems to be warning, and not only that they are warning, they are also telling the nation the implication of some of these activities. Today it is that, look, if you are one of those flying the flag of Russia in this protest, it could amount to a treasonable act. Let me allow you to listen to the Chief of Defense Staff.
We are warning in clear terms, and the President has also said we should convey this, that we will not accept anybody, any individual flying any foreign flag in Nigeria. That is treasonable offense, and it will be viewed and treated as such. So nobody should allow himself to be used by any individual. Also, the issue of coups. Nigeria is a sovereign nation. Nigeria is a democratic nation. All security agencies are here to defend democracy and ensure that democracy continues to strive. We will not accept anyone pushing or taking any action, seemingly or for whatever reason, to want to push for any change of government. Democracy is what we stand for. Democracy is what we continue to defend. The military is going to step in when it is out of bounds. And we can see that for people, subversive elements to push individuals to carry Russian flags in Nigeria, Nigerian sovereignty, that is crossing the line, and we will not accept that. And those ones who have done that will go in for the books, and they're going to be prosecuted.
The Chief of Defense Staff, that statement came after a meeting with President Bola Tinubu. There was no Federal Executive Council meeting, but the one that happened just about the hour in which the FEC meeting usually happens, it was the one the President held with heads of security agencies in the country. As that was going on, the spokesperson of all the security agencies met today in Abuja, and they came out with a position. Let me allow you to listen to the spokesperson to the Nigerian Police Force, Muyiwa Adejobi.
We have been able to arrest some individuals who were calling for subversion and who engaged themselves in what I call treasonable felony. To carry the flags of a foreign country on our land is a criminal offense. We have them arrested. Just this morning, we have arrested one Ahmed Taylor from Kwana Hudu, a Nasarawa local government area of Kano State, for producing in large quantity Russian flags given to young Nigerians to go and fly. Based on our intelligence before this thing commenced on 1st of August 2024, I began to manifest.
Muyiwa Adejobi there, the spokesperson of the Nigerian Police Force. So let's get some insight into what today's events mean. Of course, we do know that the DSS is saying they did not have in their custody one of the protesters who was being reported to have been arrested by the security agencies. And we do now know the arrests that have been made and the stern warning coming from the military. And so some of the sites that you see today, one include the hijack of a police armored personal vehicle of the Nigerian Police Force. So you see the protesters driving it around town. Let's get some insight into the implication of this and how we can end some of this violence in the bud. I've been joined by Mr. Bulama Bukati, who is a scholar of extreme violence. He joins us virtually from London. Thank you so much indeed, Mr. Bukati, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Perhaps what came out today in the news is the flying of the Russian flag. And in some quarters, we are hearing that the Russian embassy had come out to say, no, we are not here. We do not know what is going on. And I'm worried because in London, where you are, there are also violent protests happening in London. And it does look like the flame of protest is all over the place, and you can see some of the agitation that people are asking for good governance, and people are agitated by one thing or the other. But the dimension and the dynamics in the Nigerian context cause for concern, isn't it?
It does call for concern. But to start with, let's be clear that peaceful protest is a constitutional right that is guaranteed to each and every Nigerian. And wherever Nigerians are not satisfied with government policy or are not happy with how governments at the federal or the state or the local government levels are conducting their affairs, they can come out and protest. But protest has to be peaceful, it has to be orderly, it has to be organized. And therefore, vandalism, violence, and looting is not protest, it is criminal, it is terrorist, it is a terroristic activity that every Nigerian must shun away from. And of course, like you said, Shaun, the use of Russian flag is something we started to observe a few days ago with a small number of individuals, and then it started to spread inside Kano, and now it has spread across the country. And as I have said previously in some of my written posts, I think this is a dangerous trend. It is a dangerous trend because, number one, holding another country's flag during protests and calling for that country to invade your country or to come to your country is potentially criminal. It is potentially treason, because if you look at Section 37 of the Criminal Code Act, especially the one that is applicable in Abuja, but there are similar sections or identical sections in the criminal code that is applicable in southern Nigeria and the penal code that is applicable in northern Nigeria, all of them make treason an offense. And in each of them, they define treason and then continue to say everything that is treason under English law is treason in Nigeria. And under English law, being disloyal to one's country and carrying another country's flag, calling for your own country to be invaded, can potentially be treasonous. We know under democratic Nigeria, the law regarding treason has been watered down by the Court of Appeal in a landmark case. But in spite of that, the watering down mostly deals with the person of the president or threatening or activities that are related to the person of the president. But activities that are related to the corporate existence of Nigeria as a nation is treason, and we know that treason is punishable by death under Nigeria's law. Those protesters that are being unscrupulously or unknowingly or unconsciously that may be used by unscrupulous elements in the society or people with dark agenda against our country must be careful. They must know what to do and what not to do during protests, and carrying another country's flag is definitely not something that is allowed in a peaceful protest.
The action or the act of, I can imagine that those who are carrying those flags are not unaware of their actions or the reasons behind their actions. Can you fathom why they are carrying this flag in particular? Why Russian flags?
There are many theories. So the place where it started originally in Kano is a place that is where there are many Nigerians who are conducting their peaceful businesses in Nigeria. But then one impact of that is that because there are many people from Niger there, young people from that area might have been discussing what has happened in Niger Republic over the past 1 year, when we saw a military take over, and then we saw the Nigerian government moving towards Russia. People might have been observing what happened in Mali and Burkina Faso and the deployment of Russian mercenaries, for example, to places like Mali. And people might have been observing the war in Ukraine and how Western powers and the Russian government and its allies are continuing to tussle to fight out their war there. So people have been observing that. And so it is possible that some people saw that, and they saw that perhaps the best way to threaten the Nigerian government, to call the Nigerian government's attention, is to carry a flag that will scare it. And this is something I have seen several people who carry the flag say on Facebook or write somewhere, that their aim is to hold the attention of the government by raising those flags. But another theory has it that it is possible that there are some elements, possibly not from Nigeria, that have infiltrated these sentiments and are the ones spreading those flags. Because, Sean, when you look at those who are carrying these flags, they are not sophisticated individuals. Many of them, even from the way they appear and from the way they talk, you know that they did not go to school. They are not very educated people. And so you would start to wonder whether they even know what they are doing, or whether it is someone else that is using them. But it is also possible that they just saw vogue, they just saw something that is fashionable, and they took it. But even if you want to go with that theory, Sean, you have to ask yourself, who is giving them the money to buy the materials they are using to make these flags? Because we are talking about hunger in Nigeria, and it is real. People are hungry. Many people are unable to afford 1 square meal a day. So where are they getting the money to buy the textile materials, to pay the tailors to make these flags for them? It is possible that there are some people who are making it, because we know some of these children that are carrying it do not have the money to purchase it after it has been made, or to purchase the material and make it. And that's why I align myself with the call of the military and the police and the government, that people can protest, but they have to do it peacefully, and carrying another country's flag is definitely a red zone. It is a no-go area.
Give us an understanding, because there are those who will tell you that, yes, Russia has always been accused of some kind of some kind of secret manipulation. The American election of about 2 terms ago, clearly we saw some Americans come out to say Russia was behind some of the secret manipulation of the democratic process. And there are those who will say these blatant and obvious move of carrying the Russian flag is not very much in the style that is being deployed or employed in those kind of manipulation that Russia has always been linked to. Do you have any dimension or any explanation into why this could be some kind of scenario playing out in Nigeria, and considering also the influence of Russia in our neighborhoods, in some of the neighboring countries on the continent, and could that also play any role? And if Russia comes out to say, we do not know anything about what is happening in your country, that those who will tell you, do not believe them. But you play around within the intelligence community. Should the government really be worried or bothered about these actions?
Look, Sean, I don't know if there is a direct link with Russia, but what I am sure about is that there may be individuals who are allies or sympathetic to Russia that may be pushing this agenda. And you are right to point out social media, because social media is something that has been used by actors, including Russia, on the African continent to roll out a campaign of influence, of disinformation, of conspiracy theories in order to either bolster regimes they want to support or to undermine systems and countries they do not support. And so it is possible that this is happening. It is on record that there are countries in Africa where Russia interfered in their election using influencers and social media and other kinds of malign influence on the ground. And you spoke about the American case, but also the case of several countries in Europe where there are allegations, at least, that Russia has interfered in their political or social systems. So it is possible because it has played out elsewhere, and there are credible evidence to show that, yes, it was Russia that was responsible either directly or indirectly. To your point that what we see in Nigeria is not exactly the way we saw in other countries, especially in the West, you know, disinformation and these kinds of malign campaigns mostly are packaged in a way to suit a particular circumstance. And so what is rolled out in the United States may not necessarily be workable or suitable for Nigeria. And those who roll out this campaign are very intelligent people who do their own research and then use the best methods they think is possible to roll out in a particular geography or circumstance or situation. But what I hope, and this is just a hope, is that those young Nigerians that are carrying these flags are unsuspecting Nigerians who do not know what they are doing. And now that we are warning them, and now that the government is warning them, and now that everyone is speaking against it, I hope and pray they would listen and they will take caution and they will stop using those flags.
Listen to what we played that tape earlier, what the spokesperson of the Nigerian police force said about the arrest that had been made. 681 was made after the second day. On the third day, we understand that 681 persons have been arrested by the Nigerian police, but more arrests is said to have been done. But you see some kind of coalition and some kind of working together, a handshake amongst the different security agencies. In fact, their spokespersons are meeting. It does look like there is a coming together, which looks like a new dimension into the synergy that a lot of people have always asked for within the Nigerian security space. But if you are to look at that vis-a-vis intelligence around these past few days, how do you assess the whole thing?
So, to be honest, if you looked at the behavior of the Nigerian military, the Nigerian army, as far as the information I have, acted commendably during these protests. They did not harass or intimidate protesters as far as we know from the reports we see. They acted professionally, and I commend them for that. But showing when it comes to the Nigeria police force, they fell short of their standards. They did not act professionally. And the numbers of arrests you are talking about, we are not clear of all the circumstances in which those arrests were made. But there is credible information, including videos of some of the protesters shot by the Nigeria police who are individuals that should not be shot. The Nigeria police use disproportionate force, unreasonable force where force should not be used, and they shot live bullets on protesters who should not be shot. There are circumstances where there is no even need to use tear gas, but the Nigeria police used live bullets and they killed protesters. And that is a condemnable act, and I condemn it and call on all well-meaning Nigerians to condemn it. Because as I said, the right to protest is a constitutionally guaranteed right. The constitution that made the president today, the same constitution that made the army today, the same constitution that guaranteed the police force its powers and functions, it is the same constitution that guaranteed Nigerians the right to protest. And we have seen even where people were protesting peacefully, the police used force against them, unreasonable force. And there were circumstances where there were skirmishes, where there were problems. But instead of the police to de-escalate the matter, they escalated the situation by attacking protesters. And I think that is not something that should be allowed. And the president and the various state governments where protesters were killed or injured have to must set up commissions of inquiry, judicial commissions of inquiry, to investigate what happened during those protests, especially where there were loss of life, in order for those police officers to be brought to justice and be punished according to law. But on the other hand, we also have to look at the protesters. I did mention previously that violence, vandalism, and looting is unknown to protest, and these are criminal activities. And anywhere and everywhere where a protester damages another person's property or attacks people who shouldn't, who are conducting their normal business of life, or attack police officers, they must be arrested and investigated and prosecuted. There are people who might have violated the law amongst protesters, but their punishment is not death by being shot by police officers. What the law provides is for them to be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted. Unfortunately, that is not what the Nigeria police force is doing right now in many circumstances. They are shooting and killing people. They are shooting and injuring people. Shaun, you mentioned the United Kingdom and the riots that are going on in the United Kingdom right now. It is not protest, by the way, in the United Kingdom. It is full-fledged riot by people who wanted to riot against a particular community they hate. And it is something that has to be tackled. But what did the police do in the United Kingdom? They arrested and have already started arraigning in court some of those who got involved or who instigated or who participated in the riots. They did not kill anyone. And no Nigerian protester should have been killed by the police. And I think the federal government, the National Human Rights Commission, must investigate this matter. The
Mr. Bukati,
government where this happened must investigate this matter.
Mr. Bukati, there are some response coming from the Nigerian police. Of course, they released a statement saying they did not kill anyone. And they are also saying that the incidents where people have died were not due to the police shooting at them. But you look at what is obvious that we can see. We do not have tapes where police shot at anyone, but we could see where tear gas are being used against protesters. Are those, is this kind of global best practice to use tear gas if the police think that the protester or the protester is not in the right place, based on the court order that was obtained in Lagos, in Ogun, in the FCT, that have restricted the protester to a place? Should the police use tear gas at all? And at what point, if they are based on best global practice, if they are allowed to do so, at what point can they utilize or deploy it?
Shaun, you and I and many of our viewers know the process of court. If the police is saying we are using tear gas because these people violated a court order, they should tell us that using tear gas is the process when an individual violates a court order. The normal legal procedure when an individual violates a court order is for that person to be arrested and arraigned before a court for contempt of court. And if the police wanted to use tear gas, or they wanted to know whether using tear gas in this circumstance is right, they should have applied to the court at the same time when they applied for the order to restrict the protests, they should have asked the court to also give them an injunction or an order, or to allow them or to permit them to use tear gas where the court order was violated. They didn't do that. And using tear gas is not the normal process in a democratic country, in a country that respects rule of law. Of course, there are circumstances where the police is allowed to use tear gas, especially where there are mobs that are on the verge of committing a crime or to overpower them. But that wasn't what we saw in places like Abuja. As far as we know, in places like Abuja, it was peaceful protests by people. Some of them have blocked roads, and the police force started using tear gas on them and even live bullet to disperse them. And I think that's not in tandem with the rules of engagement of the Nigeria police force. It is not in alignment with our legal process, and it is certainly a violation of our law. And I think the police force, to your point that it is denying that any protester has been shot, one of the things that tarnishes the image of the Nigeria police force is this denial in the face of facts. Because, Chewun, we saw the videos, and some of these videos have been corroborated by sources on the ground. They are credible. The police shooting and killing protesters in places like Kano, at Kurna Babalai. You have the bodies of the people going all around with bullet wounds, people who have died. There are videos of police officers threatening protesters with death in Kano, and of police officers shooting protesters. And I think it is demeaning of the rank and status of a police officer, of the rank of the Inspector General of Police, to deny those incidents when we can see facts that are proving them. I think in order, if they want to respect their profession and they want to show Nigerians that they are a force that respects the rule of law and they don't cover for criminals, and those criminals or those who abuse their powers amongst the police don't belong to them, they should acknowledge what happened, they should investigate it, and they should punish those police officers that were involved. If they did that, Nigerians will be convinced that these were rogue elements amongst the police. But if the Nigeria police force wants to cover for these people, in spite of the hard evidence that is on the ground everywhere and that will continue to come out over the next few days, then people will believe that these were not drug elements. These were true representatives and agents of the Nigeria police force acting under the authority and with the permission of the force.
Let's take a break, everyone. But when we come back, you should be asking, as a Nigerian, where are all the money that have been disbursed? President Bola Tinubu said in his speech yesterday that monies have been disbursed to help alleviate the poverty of Nigerians. They have been disbursed to the state. Well, there are other initiatives that the president said that have also been activated. But where are these? Mr. Femi Falana had written, and I'm going to read part of what is said to you after this break. And I'll allow next guest on the program to weigh in on that. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Let's now focus our attention on a particular aspect of this whole conversation that we may not have been talking about. It's not only the federal government that is involved in the governance of this nation. There are 36 state governors and the FCT being governed by a minister, all of whom are responsible directly to the Nigerian people. Now, I'd like to remind you, one effort the president said he has made in getting funds out to help cushion the effect of some of the effect of the decision of his government's policies, some of which include inflation rate, the issue of food inflation, unemployment, and so many other issues, and ability to buy food, and perhaps whether or not to find those food in the market. Things spiraled, and there are effects on the bottom line, the lives of average citizens. Let me remind you of what the president said on Sunday morning.
We have also embarked on major infrastructure projects across the country. We are working to complete inherited projects critical to our economic prosperity, including roads, bridges, railways, power and oil and gas development. Notably, the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway and Sokoto-Badagry Highway projects will open up 16 connecting states, creating thousands of jobs and boosting economic output through trade, tourism, and cultural integration. Also, more than 570 billion has been released to the 36 states to expand livelihood support to their citizens.
All right, let's follow up on that. The billions of naira the president said have been released. So Mr. Femi Falana today came out to ask that question. And these funds have not only been released under the Tinubu government, even from the Buhari era. Some of these monies have always also been released. Take a listen to, in part, what Mr. Falana said. He said, quote, in July 2024, the federal government released over 438 billion in reimbursement of 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory under the Nigeria Community Action for Resilience and Economic Stimulus Program. Kaduna and Anambra State were not included in the list of beneficiaries of the last disbursement on the ground that they did not present results for verification during the exercise. Falana went further to say, from the foregoing, the total sum of 573 billion has been disbursed to the state and FCT to fight multidimensional poverty in the past 9 months. The disbursement was confirmed yesterday by President Bola Tinubu in his nationwide broadcast. Since the sum of 438 billion has just been disbursed, Nigerians deserve to know the details of the anti-poverty programs being executed with the fund. After all, the last tranche of 438 billion is part of the World Bank loan of $750 million, which will be paid back by the Nigerian people. I think we need to create a hashtag. Hashtag, where is our money? The question is, from every state, there needs to be citizen engagement to the government of every state to say, where are these monies that you have gotten from the center meant to alleviate the poverty in the land, multidimensional poverty? 538 billion naira disbursed. 438 billion disbursed in the last few months. 578 billion in the last 9 months. Let's get some perspective to this. Alhaji Abaji Sani joins me. He's a presidential candidate in the last election and the national chairman of ADP. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
So there are a lot of end bad governors, but the question is that it is not only at the center, and it does look at the pressure is on the federal government. They are getting the message. Has the state governments gotten the message? And the local government, the councillors, are they getting the message?
Well, Sean, they are not getting the message because if you look at what happened, even when protest was about to, commence, I think that was a tactical error made by Mr. President when he invited the traditional rulers to come to the villa so he can address them and ask them to go and pacify, their people. The traditional rulers were not the right people to summon at that point in time. I think Mr. President should have exposed at that point in time the governors, the state governors, and the state governors should go maybe in collaboration with their traditional rulers in their domains to now appeal to the people. Because if you see what has happened, that's why I say they're not seeing the money you're talking about. Because people who are taking this money have not been put on the spot. And in addition to the 433 billion naira to talk about, there was also 1.33 trillion naira that was at FAC that was given to the states. So the question is, why is it that the federal government, has not all along been able to put together a system whereby accountability will become, an issue?
So it's as if the federal government is giving a lot of money to the states without asking how do you spend.
Yes, how
there are those who will say the federal system of government allows for that level of independence. The federating units should have the lives of their own and be able to determine how they run their own states in their own territory, and the federal government has its own powers. But the question is that the states, apart from some of these intervention funds, the states are getting far more than what they used to get since subsidy was removed.
Exactly.
The question is that, where are the funds?
The first, like I said, I think the issue, is still, like you rightly pointed out, the Mr. President should put the governors, the states, on the spot. If you look at the Revenue Mobilization Allocation Fiscal Commission, of course, it says that money is given to the states because going by the sharing formula, which is in the Constitution. But where is the accountability? Is it that you just come to the federal, you collect money, you go and do whatever you like with it, you come back again, you collect, you go and do whatever you like with it, nobody asks you to render any account? And if there's any account being rendered, because we all know the states are in the pockets of the governors, not the House of Assemblies, not the traditional rulers. Nobody in any state can talk to any governor because they behave like emperors in where they preside, in the states. So the issue is that we've come to a stage where the problems should be put squarely where it belongs, and that is for the citizens to begin to now hold the state governors to account for how much has been given to them.
In fact, alone, Alaji Abajisani, there is a report which says that the state governments or the states have received an average percentage rise in federal allocation up to 27%.
Yes.
So if they were receiving a certain amount consistently over the last year, since Bola Tinubu came into government, the allocation that goes to the state has increased up to about 27%.
Yes.
So are we seeing the effect of the 27%, or even if it's 20% or 25% rise in federal allocation in the lives and livelihoods of the people? Anyways, the state in each of these states of the federation where people are protesting, there are state governors there.
Yes.
Agree that Bola Tinubu was the one who made the decision to remove subsidy.
Yes.
And the major effect of that subsidy removal is what we are seeing in our livelihoods and in the price of commodities in the market. But the question is that, are there no governors in the federating unit?
Yes. The problem, like I said, I'll still say Mr. President has a duty to rise to the occasion and then deal with this problem. Because one,
how does he do that? Can he query a state governors? Or you are talking about audits?
The issue is this. You see, when he removed the subsidy, he said that the subsidy was going to private pockets, isn't it?
Yeah.
Up to today, nobody has mentioned who these private pockets were. Today, we have the pockets that we know where the subsidy is going to, and that's state governors. So somebody should now call out the state governors.
There are only 36 of them.
Yes, but they are known.
Yes.
You can claim that the ones that were stealing our resources before the removal of subsidy, we don't know them. Nobody has been able to mention them for us, for up to this moment. But what about the trillions that is now going to the state governors? Why can't somebody now ask them to account? And of course, we have agencies. EFCC is there, ICPC is there, and the other agencies. Maybe they should swing into action.
And the Nigerian people are there.
Exactly.
If some of these agencies are not rising up to the occasion,
the
Nigerian people have risen to the occasion. They've gone to the street. The question, and perhaps also poking in the minds of the average Nigerian, is this. Hashtag, where is our money? Hashtag, where is our money? Let the governors come in a town hall.
Yes.
Let them tell the people,
yes,
this is the money that we have collected in the last 6 months.
That's right.
And this is how we have spent it.
Yes.
If the people cannot practically and physically see it, then they should owe them to account, isn't it?
Yes, they should. They should. And as a matter of fact, I think Nigerians have woken up, but like you are saying, the anger should not be targeted only to the center. In fact, if anything, the anger should be more to the state, the subnationals, and that's why you had, the destructions and and the fury of this protest to be more intense in the north, because the north is suffering more, in silence. They don't know how to, who to attack or who to fight. So this is why people were just burning, government properties there. I'm not in any way supporting that line of action, but the people are frustrated. And if anything, the center should come on the side of the people, not asking well, that's another thing, another aspect of the whole protest. Mr. President should know that if there's anybody that is the culprit in this anger that you have on the land today,
it is subnationals, that is the state governors. And we know how much is going to them. We can verify how much they have been used, how much have been utilized if we're serious, people. And we have to be serious now because the citizens are hungry and they're angry.
Let's take a break.
Yes.
When we come back, we'll finalize our conversation on the anger on the street. Well, of course, condemnable, the kind of assault on infrastructure and private property. But the question is that, can we rechannel this anger to the right places? Let it trickle down. Now, there is a Supreme Court judgment to say local government has their lives and their powers of their own. Their independence is guaranteed under our laws. They should be able to rise up and be able to defend their action in their own territory. Are they doing their duty? The state government, are they doing their duties? We need to rechannel that energy and ensure that our nation is better for it. We'll be right back after this break, everyone. But this conversation will drive us into actually trying to put out what is obvious, of course, the kind of monies that have gone into the coffers of the state governments across the nation. And some of them getting 20-something billion, 40-something billion, 30-something billion in one tranche, and some of them getting in other tranches. Now, the question is that in all of the increase, at least in the minimum of 9 months, there's been increase in federal allocation that's gone to the state. The question is that if anybody is asking end bad governance, the Tinubu government, are they heard? What about the state governors? Are they heard also? Alhaji Abajisani has been speaking with us tonight. In wrapping up this conversation, Alhaji Abajisani, where do we go from here? We've seen this uprising in the northern region of the country, in Bauchi, in Kaduna, in Kano, in Jigawa, in most parts of the north. There seems to be that tension in the land. There are those who have drawn political undertone to some of this, but the fundamental is also the fact that times are hard. There is hardship, there is poverty. Where do we go from here?
I think where we go is to become more and more conscious of the responsibility of the tiers of the government to ensure that accountability, becomes, a watchdog. A watchword that we must use. It's not enough to just say you're a state governor. Constitution has said that you can go and take money and do whatever you like with it. But there must be accountability, Sheung. And the problem of this country revolves around three things you can easily say: corruption, lack of diversification of our economy, and the poverty that has eaten deep into the fabrics of the society. So this is why we cannot, as a nation, be able to make any progress if we can tackle the issue of corruption. And that's what is coming out now, because corruption is so endemic. The infrastructure at their sorry states, and nobody's doing anything about it. We are not diversifying economy. The money is going to governance, like we have been saying here, is being used for some frivolous ends, and you hardly hear of anybody really being questioned, by the state. So I think, if anything, I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has already started doing, by giving the local governments their autonomy in terms of having powers over the funds that are supposed to go to that tier of government. But beyond that, we also need to look at issue of how do we recruit our leaders, even at that level, because
at the grassroots.
Because if we still have it the way it is today, nothing will change.
But do you know, Alhaji Abajisani, things are that bad that a chairman who, for example, is supposed to be the chairman of, let's assume this is a local government, does not live in that local government, lives in the city, part of the city.
Yes, the capital, state capital. Yes.
How do you want to govern where you do not know the plight of your people?
No, because it does not matter. The people there do not matter to him.
I think that
the only people that matter is the governor.
The faces of their chairman on the billboards, So that as you're entering that local government, you know that this is the man responsible for governance in this area.
Yes.
I think people should start, because a lot of the times you don't even know who the chairmen are.
Yeah, but
you don't even know the members of the cabinet of the local government, the councillors.
Now we'll begin to know, because what has happened all along is that you just have local government chairmen or the local government chapters as just a department of the state. So the man you put at the head there knows that he has to go and pay homage and possibly go and be saying, yes, sir, yes, sir. It doesn't really deliver anything to the people there. But now with this change that we have, money is going to that tier directly, and elections, most importantly, how we conduct elections. Because if we leave it in the hands of the governors, still nothing will change.
All right. I think for whatever is worth, this protest had awakened some kind of consciousness,
certainly,
not only in the average person, but in our nation. And that the Nigerian people cannot be taken for granted any longer.
Yes.
But I think there is an assignment that this episode of the program had given me personally. Don't worry, Nigerians. I will come out with the figures of how these monies were disbursed, and we'll be able to see whichever state you are from, you'll be able to know what monies have gone to your state and the right question you need to be asking. Yes, #end bad governance, but where is our money? Let's be asking the state governors. Thank you so much, Alhaji Abajisani, for coming.
Thank you, Sean, for having me.
And that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimale. I'll see you next time. God bless Nigeria.